straight into this very interesting and fascinating area and a complicated area. I want to introduce ourselves and our speaker, Ashish, to you. So I run an organization called Inomi Learning. My name is Richa Saklani, and our organization is called I Know Me. It's a self-discovery based organization. It sort of means I know myself. Our role and our programs are really designed to help students understand themselves, understand the options available for them, and chart out a path for themselves on which they can walk and where they can truly fulfill their best potential. So we typically start working with students in grade 10, and we guide them towards looking at, multiple career options available to them. We guide them to finding those 2 or 3 options which are most suited to them, choose their subjects accordingly to keep maximum options open in grades 11 and 12, work with them on finding their projects, and then draw up college lists, help them bring their applications together at the best possible quality. So that's roughly about what we do as an organization. We've been working now in this space for about 15 years in career and college guidance, and a lot of our students are studying across great universities across the world. And one thing we've learned in working with over 10,000 kids since we started is that there is no magic formula that anyone can put which is right or perfect for everyone, whether it is a career choice, whether it is a college choice, or whatever it is exactly that we're looking for. So we're not trying to find that magic formula today either, sort of to say that should you take the SAT, should you not, should you take the AP, should you not, but really trying to help you see things in a nuanced perspective to say that for my kind of kid, will it be important or not? What are the right questions to ask, and how do I find the answer that suits me the best? So that's a bit about our organization. About myself, I come very much from a Three Idiots kind of world where, in the previous millennium, everybody was studying medicine and engineering. So I feel that we and our children live in this beautiful world where there are 70 or 80 career options that we share with students, saying you can do this, you can look at data and analytics, you can look at digital marketing, you can look at bioinformatics, you can look at UX design. There are so many opportunities for students to look at. Psychologists can work in robotics and in cognitive science and neuroscience. There's so many interesting things that are going on that people can look at. Education is such a big field. So I put a lot of my ideas together in a book called The Ultimate Guide to 21st Century Careers, which is available on Amazon, where we've tried to group these careers under skill sets to say people who like to come up with ideas, people who like to work with people. What are some of the options that work for them? So please feel free to take a look and get that sense of breadth that our students and our children in this generation really enjoy. So that's really about I Know Me, and about myself who will be leading this conversation with you. And I would like to introduce our guest, Ashish. Ashish runs one of the most, I would say, one of the most recognized and reputed organizations that is in test prep today in Delhi NCR, which is Tutela. What they do is that they work with students in small groups, help them find their level, whether it comes to SAT, ACT, AP, and various other things. And I'll really let Ashish introduce both Tutela and himself, and then we can get into a conversation about this. Over to you, Ashish.
Thank you so much, Richa, for having me. I hope my audio is clear.
Yes, absolutely. People, please feel free to turn on your videos also so that we can all interact freely. Yes, it's clear, Ashish.
So, as Richa mentioned, this education as the domain is successful only when it comes together by a passion-driven team. So Tutela started again with me being so passionate about teaching and imparting knowledge to these young minds. When for the first time I got into Delhi at the age of 17, I started, tutoring kids, and I figured out that's something I'm enjoying. Throughout my graduation year, I enjoyed doing it a lot. And after I graduated from Jamia, I opted for education to be the proper domain for myself, my career, quitting my job in PSU. So that was the time my real passion kicked in. And in a couple of years, we started Tutela in 2017, January. And thereon, from 2017 to today, the team has grown exponentially to a count of 25 plus educators, along with student being catered, 1,000 plus so far. So we specialize in standardized test prep, be it SAT, ACT, and earlier it was subject SAT, and even now for a while, and then APs, along with IB, IGCSE, and all other international curriculum, including A levels and O levels. So, having worked in this domain so long, we have developed a unique methodology to work with the kids in a feedback loop. What was missed, or typically was what was not given to the kids in terms of tuition, was they being very dependent on their teachers to understand and implement a strategy. Whereas at Tutela, for whatever product a kid is enrolled for, we make them equipped to handle their own queries and doubts teachers to as low as possible in terms of time engagement. So this was a brief about Tutela so far. And I learned that the primary agenda for today's discussion we will be handling is subject SAT change, SAT change, that is the essay part which has been removed, and then importance of APs. So to dive into it, I would like to share my screen where I'll be comparing all the data points. We will just touch on all the points very briefly, and our prime area of discussion will keep limited to APs. I hope that's fine, Richa.
I think that some of the parents also have questions about whether the SAT optional is really optional. And that's something that I'd also like to address, because we've worked this year.
Sure.
Many students working, many students who've applied with the SAT and many students who have applied without the SAT. And while we've not seen so far a significant impact on the SAT, we still strongly believe that students should take it. But we'll come to that in a little while. So we'll talk about that also. So perhaps, Ashish, where we can start is if you can just summarize for us these big changes that have happened now with College Board's decision in January.
So,
please do share your screen.
Sure. Yeah. The first and the primary one is College Board getting away with optional essay into SAT. This prime concern was SAT essay used to take 15 days of extra evaluation time and manpower getting involved. And the number of takers appearing for these essays were not quite broad. So it made much of sense where the reading and writing strategy gets evaluated through the reading and writing sections of SAT and not pushing for essay to be an extra component where there were some financial constraint by paying, you had to pay an amount of $50, $15 to appear just for this section. So this was the primary concern, looking into which College Board decided to drop this. Now, the second change which happened was College Board getting away with subject SAT, or just entirely removing it for all the future takers, be it national or international. For international ones, it is still available for May and June attempt, but for national test taker, as in the American test taker, they cannot appear for subject SAT even when they wish for. So what was the prime concern here? Subject SAT used to get utilized when you have to show subject specific strength. That is, if you're applying for engineering related majors or math major, for any STEM courses, you wanted to show your strength in physics or chemistry or mathematics or for bio, specifically for medicine related courses. So subject SAT used to serve this purpose there. But side by side, College Board had an additional product, which was Advanced Placement Test, APs, which had physics as multiple components: Physics C mechanics, Physics C ENM, Physics 1, Physics 2. For math, they had calculus, they had statistics. For chemistry, you had one AP. For bio, you had one AP. So if some schools had to test that skill in the user, they started preferring AP score way more over just appearing for subject SATs. In the past 2 years, we also noticed repetition of questions. So kids increasingly used to come to us and report that, this attempt, we took the subject SAT and we saw 20% of the question being parallel from your worksheet. So by parallel, I'm trying to say the question being same word to word and the options being same word to word. So that means College Board was not putting in much of effort in creating new paper. Rather, they were recycling the old ones by adding in some additional questions. So in term of manpower limitation, a second factor. Third one, if you notice the statistics, that is, in the year 2000, we had approximately 800,000 users appearing for subject SAT globally. And in the year 2020, that number reduced to somewhere closer to 400,000. Whereas for APs in the year 2000, we had somewhere closer to 1 million test takers, which increased to 5 million test taker for APs in the year 2020. So College Board must have noticed this, that increasingly APs are becoming more popular to show our skill, and subject SATs are losing their popularity, being easier for the student. Almost 27% of the global count used to get 800 out of 800 in subject like math level 2, approximately 9% of the global student in subject like physics. So it made not much of sense for students to differentiate themselves, showing the skill to the schools by just appearing for subject SAT. Rather, they had to do additional APs. So getting away with subject SAT was the only solution in order to reduce the burden on the test takers. So these three were the primary pillars on which College Board took a call to get away with subject SATs and pay more attention to APs and the requirement at par with the colleges and the courses.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you that they must have seen that trend and done this, and pretty much what this therefore puts the onus of distinguishing yourself on APs a lot, which is why, you know, up till last year, frankly, as counselors, we would tell students to not bother about APs too much. So Ashish, you and I may differ on that one. But essentially because we would say just take your subject tests, and unless you're really applying for top colleges, you're really aiming, you know, and your grades are also commensurate with that, and you really want to distinguish yourself, or your school is not very well known, and therefore, you know, you want to use the APs to sort of distinguish yourself academically, only then we would say go for it. Otherwise, I would say subject test. But I think now in the new environment, the environment is different, and therefore it is an important component to look at.
And you know, Richard, I'll just add in my point here. APs does not make much sense for every student to appear for. This is not mandate. These are the extra feathers which you are, you know, planning to add into your hat in order to report your profile to the schools. So those students who are struggling with their academics, let's say an IB student who is scoring somewhere around 35 out of 42, APs does not make sense at all.
Absolutely.
A CBSE student getting 80% in the school curriculum, there's still so much of gap area, which rather you should put more effort in and improve on your academics. So you are definitely right. The competition bar is increasing each year. So I'll give you an example. In the year 2017, we barely had 5-7 AP enrollments. That converted to, in the year 2020-21, so far we have more than 90 AP enrollments. So that's showing how increasingly the competition bar, in order to make the profile even better, the academic part of it is amongst the kids throughout the, you know, I would say the international student counts.
Totally, I'm with you, Ashish. And which is why I had wanted us to look at this whole idea a little more closely today to see that who does it work for, who does it not work for. And Ashish has also worked out very beautifully, you know, if you look at different courses and which courses can do with which particular AP. So let's get into that, Ashish, and let's give them the perspective. I don't know, have I enabled?
Sure.
Yeah, now I've enabled sharing. So you can share that, and you'll let's take an overview of what it is, and, you know, what are the various courses, and therefore what APs are needed for that. And please feel free to interrupt us to ask questions, put it in the chat box, and in the end also we'll have specific time just to answer your questions.
I hope my screen is visible, Richard.
Yes, yes, we can all see.
So I'll not put much of time or at all into ACT and SAT, because Everyone knows what are the differences, and they are already aware about these key parameters. And if not, you can visit on our website, tutelaprep.com, and read the detailed blog about the difference between ACT, SAT, and which test a user is more inclined for. And you are also free to appear for a diagnostic test with us, which will help us evaluate. And we can work upon your timeline planning. So I'll directly get into the AP part of it. So, broadly, we have categorized some of the popular courses and what all APs are preferred. You are free to take screenshot of it and keep it for, Dhiman, you will have to, okay, yeah, thank you so much, Dhiman. So I was trying to get on to this course part, but before we dive into, I would like to brief you a bit on what curriculum and why AP. So let's say we are in CBSE or ISC. I'll keep IB out because international curriculum for a while, and then I'll get into IB part. So if you are into CBSE and ISC, you must have observed this year that your school has cut down on syllabus. The test and the assessment which the schools are conducting are way easier as it used to happen in the previous years. So the data is skewed, as in, once you receive the report, you must notice this part. Most of the students are lying in the upper quartile of the score range. Most of the users are getting 80% plus or even 90% plus. So if this translates to a predicted score, everyone will end up getting a very good predicted score. So what is the differentiating factor? Every school, every class has at least 10 to 20 students who have the same academic background, and they kind of aspire to get into the same kind of college with the same kind of courses. So what is the primary differentiating factor there? So APs, it plays a role there. First one. Second, colleges are well aware what is going around in our school academics. The syllabus getting cut down, the test becoming easier, and also increasingly every day as a teacher, I get to hear about kids using unfair means to answer their exam questions. Colleges are very much aware about these situations. So they are not very, or they will rather, they will never openly admit it, but they will rather be more inclined towards assessing you on a standardized platform where every user throughout the globe is appearing for a uniform test, uniform pattern, uniform difficulty, rather than comparing them across from CBSE to ISC to state board, or let's say APs, sorry, IBs. Now, this was with CBSE and ISC primarily. Now for IB, all your HL courses, it behaves as, if you're in IB, all your HL courses behaves as an AP. And a few of the colleges, they have requirement of reporting your score with bare minimum of 5 APs. For example, Cambridge. If you're applying for a STEM courses there, 5 APs are recommended. 3 of the HLs will prove that point of your work, but you cannot opt for more than 4 HLs in IB. So what you can do is you can appear for additional APs. Other than that, let's say you're applying for a mixed major where you're trying to get into a STEM course along with keeping arts-oriented course as minor. This is, I think, these days it's quite popular where kids are getting into course. Now the product designing is not anymore about just building up something. Now it has become more about how the users will perceive it. So kids these days, increasingly, they try to combine their major and minor by mixing it up with the STEM courses along with, all the arts-based courses. So in your IB, you are limited to taking 6 of the subjects. You cannot opt for 7 in your regular diploma. Let's say you have opted for primary language being English language lit, secondary being, let's say, Spanish, group 3 subject, just econ, group 4, any of the sciences, group 5, mathematics, group 6, any of the arts, or rather you repeat group 4 subject by opting for 2 sciences. But now You need to show your strength in a subject like psychology. You have nothing else than appearing for an additional AP there. Or if you're applying for econ major, what would you do? Econ goes very well. Even if you have econ as HL in your curriculum, econ goes really well with statistics courses. So these are the courses here on the screen, along with the preferred APs for these particular courses. For example, for architecture, if you're planning to apply for this major here, AP Physics, Calculus can be AB or BC. AP Arts and Design will be most preferred. Same goes with Econ and Business Studies, AP Microeconomics, AP Macroeconomics, and AP Statistics. If you are already doing IB as HL, you can avoid appearing for micro and macro both. Rather, you can get away with just appearing for one of the APs in Econ, and along with that, you can appear for AP Statistics. Similarly, on the next page, I'll also show you. If you're appearing for engineering or computer science major, there's a wide variety of APs which you can opt for. And always it's recommended not to overdo it. You can start taking APs as early as moving from 9th to 10th grade if you're lying in the top 10 percentile of your grade. Subjects like psychology, subjects like EVS, subjects like computer science, subjects like statistics can be appeared for when you are moving from 9th to 10th grade, or even 10th grade to 11th grade. So a few of the APs can be done earlier before entering into 11th grade, and all the difficult ones like AP Calculus AB or Calculus BC or Physics C Mechanics, Physics C ENM, or AP Chemistry or AP Biology, these subjects are primarily done when the user is moving from 11th grade to 12th grade. Just one additional point, AP happens just once in a year. That is month of May every year. And hence there is no retake kind of concept. You get to do APs just once. If you start early, maybe there is a possibility. If you start in 9th grade or 10th grade, there is a possibility of redoing if you end up not scoring really good. Otherwise, if you're taking all the subjects while moving from 11th to 12th, you do not have any scope of redoing AP, because in terms of reporting your score, if you're getting it after your 12th grade or after your acceptance, all you will get is college course credit waive off, and APs will not be an important parameter for your college application. So yeah, I was discussing about engineering and computer science major. Subjects, the most preferred one is Calculus BC. It is equivalent to 2 years worth of college credit and compounds to Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3 of college syllabus being included in this content. And same goes with Physics C Mechanics. Physics C Mechanics is believed to be the second toughest course for APs. It takes a lot of effort, but just to give everyone a brief on it, it is more parallel to the 11th grade physics which you cover in your CBSE or ISC, not with IB. If you're appearing for, let's say, or if you're applying for a course like media, AP English, language and composition, or literature and composition along with AP psychology, proves to be really well for your profile. Same goes with theater. So you can see there are qualitative as well as quantitative APs, science-based and humanities-based. So depending upon what major you'll be applying for, we can club these APs to show your strength and make it parallel to your academic flow in CBSE, ISC, or for that say IBs. Now, for a few of the courses, I won't be able to get into all the courses here today, but for a few of the courses, we have prepared a chart. If you want, you can take a screenshot of it. What will be the prerequisite? What all you are expected to know before opting for these APs? When can it be appeared? How can it be done? And by how specifically, we have kept it limited to Tutela, as in how we help, and the advantages here. So in terms of Calculus BC, and one of the most rigorous courses, understanding of function and trigonometry. By function, I'm trying to say the 11th grade level of functions along with trigonometric ratios and identities, and knowing how to use the graphic calculator is the only prerequisite here. Ideally appeared when the users are moving from 11th to 12th grade, because in subject like calculus A, B, and BC, the calculus part of entire 12th grade gets covered. So if you're appearing for calculus AB or BC, you need not worry much about your CBSE or ISC or IB 12th grade mathematics. How can it be done? These are the rough amount of hours which will require for a user to prepare with us. In addition to that, we have also mentioned how much of self-practice will be required. And all of these hours have been noted down here or has been mentioned by keeping in mind the user lies in the top 20 percentile of your grade. Anyone lying below that makes no sense to appear for a subject like calculus AB or BC. Rather, put in more effort in your academics and improve your score there. Advantages: head start, as in before moving into 12th grade, you have already covered every content of 12th grade. Your predicted gets optimized, along with you have a definite score which you can report it to the university. At times what happens, our school exams do not go as we expect it to happen. There can be multiple parameters. But APs being standardized test, the outcome is quite predictable based on a tutor or the insights which we get. So at times, APs also help us optimize on our GPA. So GPA can not just get calculated out of your school score, but APs can be a part of your GPA, which you'll be reporting to your university. Now moving on to Physics 1 and 2. Very easy courses. These are the easiest possible physics component. Physics 1, the science component which you cover in 9th grade gets optimized and quite parallel with in a more of algebraic form, not having any calculus, just the basic algebraic calculation of 11th grade. So 9th, 11th grade level physics, Physics 1 lies midway to it. Similarly, Physics 2, 10th and 12th grade, the midway to it will be a Physics 2. An approximate hour, which it takes 30 hours of preparation, along with your, in addition to that, there will be your homework, the worksheet, which you need to be done in your own time. Advantages has parallel advantage. That is, before even entering into a particular class, that's say 11th to 12th, you already know all the content. You cover all the grounds, optimizes the predicted, along with gives you a score to report to your university. Physics C, mechanics, and E&M. I'll just handle this slide. Beyond that, I'll answer queries specific to the courses. So Physics C, mechanics, one of the most, I would say, toughest science component here. Very tough to get a 5, and approximately just 10 to 12% of the user globally, they score a 5 out of 5 in Physics C mechanics. Why? The reason is it covers first 11th grade content, but in a very deep way, quantitatively, qualitatively, both. You have calculus coming in. So in order to understand this, the basic knowledge of calculus is required. If you are doing well in Physics C mechanics, 11th grade physics will be a cakewalk for you, and including all the chapters, starting from as low as vectors to going as high as SHM or rotational mechanics. Amount of hour required for both these subjects remains same, approximately. Advantages has already been mentioned. It covers most of the content for 11th grade for Physics C mechanics, for Physics C E&M, 12th grade worth of content. And beyond this, definitely if you will have any query about a particular subject or how can you prepare for that, definitely that can be handled on demand.
Ashish,
Richa, over to you.
There's a question Abhijit has asked, which I think is quite pertinent. He's saying that 11th grade physics, like you're saying that the AP physics is between 9th and 11th grade. So he's saying 9th and 11th grade of IB or ICSE or CBSE. What do you mean?
Primarily, it is CBSE and ISC. For IB, Physics 1 and 2 are both parallel to IGCSE 9th and 10th grade combined or MYP 4 and 5 combined. So Physics 1 and 2 both are midway to MYP 4 and 5 along with diploma. And in terms of IGCSE, it is midway to 9th and 10th grade IGCSE level content and the IB diploma program.
Right. That makes sense. Thanks. That's quite clear. No, this is actually very comprehensive, and it gives me a very, very good perspective also on which APs to take. I think what I found most interesting is two simple ideas that I distill out of it, which is sort of trying to answer the question that who should take the APs. So, one important idea is that in case you are in the top 10% or, 15% or so of your class, or I think at one point, Ashish also said 20%, it depends on size of class also. So basically they're saying if you're already performing very well in your academics, then taking APs along with that has value. But if you're not performing very well in your academics in school, then that needs to be given priorities, because AP is going to take what, 70 hours of 50 to 80 hours of classroom, and then another 70 80 hours of self practice. So that is then better put in your academics. So that is something actually that goes across all our college counseling that we do with all students, that everything that we may do with you, whether it is building your self-led projects, whether it is writing a fantastic essay, everything sort of rests on your school academics. So your school academics, while, roughly people say that, 30% of what they're looking at is your school academics, 30% is your test, 30% is everything else. But very often, especially if you look at top colleges, then academics becomes a sort of a hygiene factor. And it is the place where you need to put in at least 50% of your effort and 50% in everything else. So that was one important thing that I picked up from that, Ashish, very clearly articulated. And also the fact that which student applying for which courses and what type of colleges should be looking out for APs. So that's really about APs. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask them at this stage. I also wanted to address the whole idea about optional SAT and ACT in a little while, but please feel free to either unmute yourself and ask a question, or put something over there if you have a question to ask. Is that it about APs, Ashish, or do you have anything to add there?
So, I have more courses which I can brief people on, but overall, these are the important ones. I have already discussed AP statistics and brief. AP physics, C mechanics and E&M has already been discussed, along with calculus AB and BC already been discussed. Economics, micro and macro has already been a brief.
Those are the important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Abhijit, to answer your question, who should take AP? I would say that roughly, if I would give you an outline of a kid who takes AP, it would be pretty much a top academic performer. So I would say there are two profiles. One is of a top academic performer who is aiming at top colleges, right? So, which I wouldn't say, every top academic performer must take it, but if you're aiming for top colleges, then it's very important for you to take the APs. Even if you're not aiming for top colleges, taking 3 or up to 5 APs will significantly distinguish your profile. So what used to happen with 2 or 3 subject tests earlier can still happen even with 2 or 3 APs. If you don't have the bandwidth to take many, even if you take 2 or 3 APs, it does distinguish your profile. But there I won't use the term should. I'd say it's a good idea. So if I say who should take
exactly.
it, I would say top student applying for top colleges in the US or in UK, Abhijit, to answer your question. In the US or UK, even Canada and Singapore, if you report your AP scores, they will add some value, though they don't ask for them, but they allow you to report them. So if you report, they'll have some value. That's not a should thing, that's a nice thing. So a should thing is top colleges to US.
Sorry, please.
Yes, go ahead.
I had a point here to add when people are questioning, let's say, who should appear for APs. So I'll also like to answer that part. A few of the courses, a few of the colleges, they have mandate. That is, if you're applying for a particular course, you must report your score with, I'll give you an example for IB, that can be generalized for the different board as well. So you must report your score with mathematics, HL, AA. If you're applying with AI, you're not eligible to even apply. For example, recently I got to learn about a query. Somebody was applying to a university in Netherlands, and getting to learn that AI, with AI you cannot even apply, and the kid is in IB, so already doing an HL, tried to keep himself a relatively or have relatively free amount of time by opting for AI in comparison to A. Now the kid is appearing for one of the APs, which is calculus BC. So there are mandates as well. It's skill based. If you have to show your strength there, if a college has some mandate, for example, if you're applying to Cambridge, in my view, based on my assessment and all the acceptances, you must appear for APs. And I'm putting it really very clear here. You must, if you're aspiring to apply to Cambridge. But again, having said that, if you're applying to Cambridge, I would already consider you to be in the top 5% of your grade. Everything must have really been sorted out in terms of your academic, in terms of your extracurriculars, whatever you had to show. So here you have an upper hand in order to appear for APs and report your score.
Absolutely. I'm totally with you. And sort of to reiterate what he's saying, even with Canada, there'll be certain courses where they'll say that you need to have studied courses in calculus XYZ. So in case, you've taken, for example, you've taken applied maths in CBSE, and now you want to, it happens with students I've seen, and then they say, oh, I want to apply for computer science. And they say, oh, some courses in Canada will require you to have taken calculus at a certain level. Then you can take the APs too, meet that requirement. So then that becomes a sort of a requirement you're trying to meet. But in a generic sense, I would say top colleges across US and, a few top colleges in Canada for STEM subjects alone. And, Cambridge, Oxford, these are places for which it's a very good and important thing for you to take the APs. That's where I would say a should. The other two boxes are people for whom it's a good idea to take the APs. So I would say if you generally have a good academic profile and you're applying to the US, it's a good idea for you to take the APs, right? If you have a good academic profile, but your school is not very well known. So, your school is not sending a lot of people abroad, either to the US or Canada or UK. And if you feel that the admission counselors there may not have enough validation of your school's prowess, then again, APs really help in helping them see that the grades that are coming from your school, these grades have value. Again, we had a couple of kids last year applying from a school in Hyderabad, which is very oriented towards Indian competitive exams, and therefore they just prepare the kids for state boards. It's like the board preparation happens on the side. The main thing is preparing for competitive exams, and then they decided to apply abroad. And suddenly now you're applying from this relatively unknown school where hardly anyone has ever applied abroad before. So them taking APs again becomes important for them to understand what your grades really mean. That does this 95% have any value or not? So that's again a place where it really adds value to take APs. Okay, somebody has asked a question saying, can you cover economics AP, Ashish?
Yeah. So econ recommended, the next slide. I hope the slide for micro and macro are visible to you.
Yes, it is.
Richa? Okay, perfect. So understanding of high school economics, even if you have gone through the book, understood the points about basic of economics in 10th grade, you're equipped. I'll give an example. Right now, we have 2 kids enrolled who are moving from 8th grade to 9th grade and appearing for micro eco. So if you understand the basic concepts behind the term and terminologies of econ, you are equipped to appear for it. When ideally recommended, moving from 10th grade to 11th grade, or also from 11th to 12th, broadly covers every concept of IB economics HL, or approximately 60 to 70% concept of your ISC and CBSE economics. But definitely ISC and CBSE economics are more inclined towards the national approach, whereas micro and macro would be more inclined towards the international approach of the entire studies. Approximately 30 to 40 hours of classroom will be required, along with additional practice resources and work to be done from your end. And as I mentioned, advantages, you're already covering every content approximately, just every content of your 11th and 12th grade economics, be it in IB or ISC or CBSE.
There's another question over here, which is saying, are we allowed to write an AP subject out of the chosen 11th and 12th subjects? For example, if a student takes PCM in 12th, can he write AP Bio? Absolutely, absolutely. You don't have to.
Yep, definitely.
That you are taking in school already. In fact, that's one of the advantages of the AP, that, some kids may not have, for whatever reason, you may not have taken maths, you may have like computer science. Now, there are many schools where the computer science faculty is not highly developed, or they don't offer a computer science, or, sometimes students just don't particularly like the CBSE and ICSE computer science syllabus. So they would take a computer science AP. So in a sense, what you are doing is that you are bolstering your profile by taking computer science. Then again, there are kids who have taken commerce and maths and computer science, and now they are applying for computer science. And now there are some places in Canada that will require you to have physics, right? So you can now take a physics AP that will complete some of those requirements. So definitely you can take an AP which is not related. There are more questions here. What would you advise a kid who doesn't know what he wants to pursue but is generally good at as academics? Ritu, we do run a very detailed one-to-one career guidance program, which is based on self-discovery, where we introduce students to 70, 80 different career options, help them make a kind of a long list of 15, 20 options that they like, and then use a couple of psychometric tools, again in a very self-discovery based way, to help them filter it out and sort of make a flow chart to say this is a primary option, this is a backup option, this is a long-term option. So I would highly recommend that kids do go through that by the time they come into 11th at least, because it gives a lot of clarity. Otherwise what happens is that kids are, especially kids who are good at studies, they might be thinking, oh, let me become an entrepreneur, a tech entrepreneur one day. And then they read something and they say, oh, biotechnology is what I want to do. Then they'll read something and they'll say, oh, media is the thing for me. Why not filmmaking? I'm so good at filmmaking. So, then it just takes a lot of energy. So, going through it and exploring everything in a structured way and saying, okay, this is what really works for me, and this may be a backup option, this may be a long-term option, that gives a lot of clarity. I've also got a book, like I was saying, called The Ultimate Guide to 21st Century Careers. It's available on Amazon. You can check that out. That also gives you a very good overview to give some clarity. And my question is specific to the choice of AP. So if a kid is good at everything, then the APs should be related, Ritu, to the course that they are looking at. That Ashish is clearly saying that which courses they are looking at. So the APs should really bolster their course profile. Are we getting a recording of the meeting? Yes, Rudra, we are recording the meeting and we'll share it with everyone who's attending. And Vandana is saying, could you show the computer science slide again, please?
I'm already on the screen of computer science where the core APs preferred are visible on the screen.
Engineering computer science, that's there for you, Rudra, for you to see. Vandana, that's there for you to see. Then is it optional AP for IB?
This is a very important question, for IB student. I would love to answer this. So, right now you will have to see into your school score. Let's say if your syllabus content right now, what school has covered in your 11th grade is relatively lower, and the scores which the student have been getting is skewed. Most of the student getting a higher score. In that case, to show extra strength, and also if you're applying for courses like medicine or biotechnology, definitely go ahead and appear for IBHL subject as well, talking about chemistry, talking about biology specifically. So even if you're, let's say, appearing for your IB mathematics, you do not have AAHL, definitely you should give it a thought to appear for APs. But again, look into the syllabus content because it's very wide. And also you cannot compromise on your school exam. If you are in IB, definitely you must have your final exams coming up. APs happen once in a year, month of May. We are sitting here by end of February. You just have March and April for your school exam as well as APs. Would you be able to manage these? If you're already prepared for your school exam, it makes sense. Else, there is no point compromising on your academic score. Focus it there, optimize it there.
Sorry, Richa, you're on mute.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, Ankit. Yeah, so there's a question here about AP psychology. So I just wanted to share that a lot of our students apply for psychology. So in the last 2 years, I would say that if I look at all the data, the most popular courses are, of course, computer science and tech, followed by business, followed by psychology, right? So I find that both within India and abroad, a lot of students are focused on psychology, and psychology in the US is considered to be a STEM subject. So psychology itself is a competitive subject to apply for. And if you're applying for psychology, then taking an EP psychology will definitely, bolster your profile. But as Ashish has also pointed out, several other humanities subjects, or if you're looking at media, theater, and such like, it definitely bolsters your profile as well.
And appearing for a subject like psychology, it is one of the easiest one to get a 5 out of 5. And for Indian student, I don't know how it has happened, but relatively very less percentage of students who are appearing for AP psychology go for professional level. 2 months of work, some past paper, some standard published book, some YouTube videos, a sufficient amount of content. If anyone plans to appear for AP psychology, reach out to us. I'll be providing all the resources, all free of cost. Because I strongly believe if you're doing good in academics, you don't need any additional help. You can appear for the paper and get a 5 out of 5.
Absolutely. So there's Abhijit has asked a question saying that didn't get it clearly. Is AP to be taken irrespective of HL or SL in IB? I think Abhijit, we would really need to specifically understand the situation in terms of what are the courses that you are doing, or a kid who you are speaking for is doing, or and what courses is he or she applying for? What is their grade level like? And then sort of understand. I don't think it is a necessary requirement. And, IB is in any case such a highly strenuous curriculum to pick up that this is the time when your E's and TOK and everything must be starting out if you're in grade 11. So if you register now for the May and June APs, then it means you're taking on a lot. Right. So we really need to see that perspective and the picture, and to see the best the student and what the student can do before we actually make that choice. In fact, Ashish, I had wanted you to just share a little bit also about the upcoming dates and, how and when people can register for that.
Sure. This time there has been a change in the AP assessment, and rather than conducting it twice in the month of May, that is regular testing and late testing. Regular testing used to happen first and second week of May, and late testing used to happen third and fourth weeks of May. But now they have given 3 assessments. First one is assessment 1, which is first and the second week of May. Then assessment 2, third and fourth week of May. And then assessment 3, which is first week of June. And all these 3 assessments are different than each other. Assessment 1 will be conducted on pen and paper, where you have to go to a physical center and appear for the test in the same format as it used to be previously. Assessment 2 has mixed of digital testing, which can be taken at home, as well as pen and paper testing, which will be taken at center. Assessment 3 is just digital, must be taken at home only. Now, so far in terms of digital testing, I can give you insight about 2020, but they haven't released in format and the software which they'll be using to conduct these tests. And these are supposed to get released by 10th of March. The registration deadline has recently been opened for the AP takers, and the end date is 5th of March. So if you are still planning, definitely reach out to Inomi team or reach out to our team, tutelaprep.com. Definitely we'll help you select these APs, or maybe we will recommend if you can even prepare for this, or it will be too much load on you. So, and the registration window is still open, but again, don't waste your time. Don't rely on registering on the last date, because AP registration does not work the same way to that of SAT and ACT. You need 2 to 3 days for your account transfer to happen to the school's bank account and your registration to get confirmed. So according to me, if you are planning to appear, register by maximum 2nd of March.
Thank you. So I just wanted you to share that also, so that you understand the context of our having this conversation today is the fact that the registration window for APs has been opened after this announcement in Jan, where they said we're scrapping subject tests, and then they opened the AP registration again for a bit, so that if people want to, because typically you can only register in the previous year, but they've opened it for a bit for people who may want to register this year for a couple of APs and prepare for them. So that's something that if you are thinking about, then we are happy to do a consultation. Ashish is happy to do that, and we are happy to do that to help you decide what's suited for you and then help you apply for those. Here, Gautam, your question is for pursuing economics. Does one need to appear in AP? So, it's not as simple as that, Gautam saying that if I'm appearing in economics, pursuing economics, should I take the AP? It depends on, which colleges are you applying for? How are your academic grades right now? What are the other subjects that you've taken? What is the rest of your profile looking like, right? So if you've done a bunch of stuff, then, it may not be necessary for you to do this. Or if you've done a bunch of stuff and you're applying for top colleges, then AP will add that final cherry on top of the whole thing that will bring it together. So, Gautam, it will really be about understanding the student-specific profile. In general, I would say if you're applying for top colleges with top grades, then AP will add a lot to your profile. There are 3 testings, 1 manual, 1 mix, 1 online. Which one is recommended? Ashish, this one is for you. Which one would you recommend?
I have received more than 100 queries in past 2 weeks just on this question. And definitely, I would love to answer this. So, I'll be very candid about my answer here because there is no binary rule. First one is pen and paper testing is on the same pattern as it used to happen before 2020. Now, the digital testing, they haven't released in format. Even if the format of the paper remains same, the quality of question will be different because they want to avoid any kind of cheating. Just to let you know my experience, in the year 2020 alone, we received more than 50 queries where people wanted us to help them appear for the APs when they're actually writing their exam. This was really surprising how people want to bypass the actual rule. We don't support any of the student in unethical way, but I strongly believe even this year, they might do some unethical approach towards taking this exam. And if it happens, if College Board is not equipped to shield, the student who are taking it ethically from the users who are maybe using some unfair mean, then the grade boundary will be skewed. Based on my understanding of the domain, there will be 2 different grade boundaries for student appearing on pen and paper testing and appearing on digital testing. It's always preferred, or to be on the safer side, take pen and paper testing, which is assessment 1. In the worst case situation, a few of the tests which is available in assessment 2 as pen and paper, you can do that. But if you live in a city where there is no other way of appearing for APs, then doing it on a digital testing, you do not have any center there in your city, then you can think about appearing for the digital testing. And other than that, to keep your score on place, to get a justified outcome out of entire effort you are putting in, keep it on pen and paper testing only.
That makes a lot of sense. So guys, that's a pretty good overview and an in-depth overview of what to do with testing. I wanted to address a question that we've been asked by a lot of people when it comes to changes in testing about optional SAT and ACT as well. Because in the last year, when once SAT went optional, a lot of things happened. Some kids who had already registered for SAT and then that center got cancelled, then they never took it again. They said, in any case, I wasn't prepared. Thank God, it's become optional. I'm not going to take it, right? And then there were students who had never planned to apply to the US at all and so had not taken the SAT, and they said, oh, wow, SAT is optional. Let me apply anyway. Right? So there were people who applied without SAT. There were others who took the SAT anyway, whenever it was possible. They applied once, then that got scrapped, then they applied again, and then they did it finally, and they went across. We've seen that the colleges have tried to not penalize people who've not taken SAT. And I've seen that where a person has a great profile, then they have got admits just as if they may have extrapolated that suppose this kid did SAT, that he would get a 1500. So let's consider him like that. And they've gone ahead and they've done that. I think that while that has happened in some cases, in other cases, you know, where your profile is sort of borderline, where your grades are okay, your profile is okay, there I would say that it is really important to take the SATs to distinguish it. So we spoke with a lot of admissions officers and counselors based in the US. We have a team of counselors that's based in the US, in Palo Alto and in New Jersey, that we work with. And their recommendation really was that for an international student, it is important to have that score, because international students anyway need to distinguish themselves a little more strongly. So I would say that one should go ahead and take this SAT or the ACT. However, in case, you know, you're really not cut out for it, you know, certain kids are really not great test takers. You're applying for design, you say, okay, you know, I'm really not into taking this test. Most design colleges are anyway test optional. So there, I think you can let it be. But if you're applying for competitive courses like computer science and business and psychology, like I mentioned before, it's a very good idea for you to actually prepare for it and to take the test in any case. All right. So I think that's our time. We had hoped to engage yourself. Yes, please, Dhiman, ask a question.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Ashish and Richa ma'am. So I just have a question. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm in 11th grade and I will be going to 12th grade, and I study in a CBSE school in the UAE. I live in Abu Dhabi. So I just want to know that I want to do an undergrad in economics, and I wish to know if it is required for me to take an AP test for that. As in, from what I've heard from other people, that I don't need to write SAT 2 because they don't have a SAT 2 for economics. So I only thought of writing SAT 1. And other than that, I really don't know what else I should write. So can you tell me whether I need to take AP or is there anything else I need to take? Because yeah, that's all I think. You know what? Yeah, that's it. Can you tell me?
Dhiman, I have a question for you here.
Yeah.
What is the tentative score which you are expecting as a predicted from your school?
As in for 12th grade boards?
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I haven't begun that conversation with my teachers yet because we normally ask for those predicted scores like halfway after 12th, as in, or maybe, I mean,
what is the 11th grade final score?
My exams haven't been over yet, actually. They're still going on. But I would be hoping to get around 92-93% out of, yeah. So
see, Dhiman, if you're lying in that range of 92-93% and actual achieved score in 11th grade, definitely do consider applying for micro and macro. But the biggest trouble with Middle East is there are not any independent centers available for APs. So you will have to request the local school. There are just 2 to 3 schools in Middle East because we have around 10-12 students from Dubai itself. So recently I've handled such query. There are just 2-3 schools available that offers AP to their enrolled student. But this time, as an exceptional, they have entertained the outsiders, as in whoever is enrolled to a different school, to write it to them, register from their AP classroom, and appear for the test. So if you can convince a school by writing an email, if they're allowing you to appear, if there is a center for a student like you, definitely you should appear for APs, because your 11th grade score, if it's 92-93, I'll be expecting a predicted from you of 95% and above.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, but I just want to make that clear that that again, I'm in a CBSE school, so I sort of need to find out where this center might be and then write a mail to them asking them if I can appear for an AP for economics, micro and macro
from their school.
In their school.
Yes.
Yeah, in their school.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. I'll definitely look into that. Cool.
Thank you, Dhiman.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So thank you, everybody. Thanks a lot for being here. And I hope you derived some value from it. If you have any further questions, please do reach out to us at info@inomi.in, or you could reach out to Ashish at Tutela Prep. And we are really happy to answer any of your questions. I know it's a confusing time, but it's also an important time for students in grade 10th, 11th to sort of take their decisions. So let's take that and let's move ahead, right? So thank you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for being there.